Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Mike and Beans. I'm Beans, and I'm with Mike. Now,
What's up?
last week we previewed basically the whole NBA playoffs, and we're going to start by talking about the playoffs again, but we have a few more topics to get to in other sports.
Yep.
But let's talk about the playoffs. Playoffs are in full swing, and we made some predictions last week. Michael said that the Clippers and Nets, right? Did you say
the Bucks? I said Clippers, Bucks.
Clippers, Bucks. I'm sorry. Well, I said Clippers, Nets.
Yeah.
But we previewed some of the series, and so far there have been a few surprises. The Clippers are down 2-1 to the Mavericks, and both of us thought the Clippers would at least make the finals, so that's a little interesting. And one of the series we previewed last week was the Heat and Bucks, and the Bucks have a chance to sweep the Heat today. So, we'll begin with the Clippers and Mavericks. You know, it's very surprising to see that they're down 2-1, but they did win last night to kind of get back into that series. But the last three games, Kawhi and Paul George have done almost everything for the Clippers. In Game 1, they combined for 49 points. In Game 2, they combined for 69 points. And then again last night, they combined for 65 points. They're doing everything, but they have no help, which is why they lost the first two games. Now, over to the Mavericks side, Luka Doncic has been very, very impressive, being the superstar that he is. He had 44 points last night, but he, like the Clippers in games 1 and 2, had no help. Kristaps Porzingis and Tim Hardaway did not shoot well. So, as if we were fans of these teams, you have to, where can we get this help? Where could they get this help? Where they have no help, and it's not bad that you see your superstars scoring all these points and leading the team, but you need help. These superstars cannot do it themselves. So I know you have a little bit of a rant to do on the Clippers and Mavericks, so I'll let you do your thing, Mike.
Perfect. All right. So first up, I think the problem with the Clippers, it's not the offense I'm really worried about. They're scoring pretty well, pretty efficiently. It's the other end of the floor. It's the defense. For the Mavs, if they want to win the series, Porzingis is going to have to do something, and he stinks. I saw a stat on Twitter that Facu Campazzo, I don't know how to say the name, I'm sorry, of the Nuggets is averaging more rebounds in the playoffs as a 5'11" guard than Kristaps Porzingis, who's 7'3". So, yeah, Porzingis is going to have to do things. But for the Clippers, their defense stinks. I mean, Ty Lue is coaching one of the worst defenses possible. Here's why. I got like 10 bullet points I want to hit on. Number one, Luka is getting every single switch he wants. Every single time he wants Zubac on him. The Clippers are, for some reason, giving him that switch, and he's just stepping back and hitting threes every single time. Zubac shouldn't even be on the floor when Luka's on the floor. Number two, they doubled Porzingis and not Luka. They weren't doubling Luka, but they doubled Porzingis. Porzingis hasn't done anything. And when you double Porzingis, they were leaving shooters open, and that's hitting on bullet point number 3. You can't leave shooters on this team. The Mavs are spacing you out with shooters. You need to make them drive. Is Maxi Kleber going to beat you at the rim? No! Of course not. Don't let him.
We already saw he was posterized by Kawhi in Game 1.
Doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they were leaving shooters. Make them drive. Number 4, you can't give Luka the same look every time. You have to give him something different. He's just so good that if you were guarding him straight up with Nick Batum 5 times in a row, he's going to find a way to score on that 4th and 5th time. He's just too good. You have to do something different. If you're going to double him, you got to double with a different guy every time, or rotate differently in the back to make sure he doesn't see the same defense every time. 5th point, make Luka play some damn defense. He doesn't have to play any defense. He doesn't move on that end. To guard a star, the easiest thing to do is to make him play defense so he is tired. Instead, Luka just stands around on defense. He doesn't move. Like there was a play where I think it was Rajon Rondo just caught the ball. Luka was guarding him, and he just dribbled past him, and Luka didn't move. He make him play defense. You will tire him out, and that will help you. 6, when they were running drop coverage in the pick and roll, Zubac was dropping way too far. Instead of dropping to a decent spot where you can contest a mid-range jumper, he was standing under the basket, so Luka was just getting an open floater. You can't do that. Next point. They leave shooters open in transition. You can't leave shooters on this team. Again, make them drive past you. They cannot dribble. Like, Maxi Kleber isn't beating you at the rim. Tim Hardaway doesn't want to go to the rim. Kristaps Porzingis is too scared to go to the rim. Make them go to the rim. Make them drive past you. On offense, the only issue I really saw with the Clippers was that they weren't attacking much. They weren't going to the rim. Again, Porzingis has less rebounds than Facu Campazzo. He doesn't want to play inside. There's no one inside guarding you. Maxi Kleber, as you said, isn't stopping Kawhi inside. He's just getting dunked on. Attack the rim. Next up, they were giving up offensive rebounds. You really can't give up offensive rebounds against a Mavericks team that isn't really great on the glass. You can't give up offensive rebounds. Just make sure you get a body on one guy, and then you're probably fine. Because when they get an offensive rebound, it's an easy kick out to a wide open three-pointer. It's just too easy. Make things more difficult. And lastly, they tried to post up Porzingis, and they doubled. Porzingis is no post game. He is none. Let him post up. He isn't a threat there. Oh my God, it's just their issues are just so dumb. They're like, if they win this series, it's in spite of Ty Lue. Their defense is just so dumb. I don't know. I can't trust him anymore. I really like this team, but their defense was so bad. And
it's very surprising to hear, that this Clippers defense is doing very, very poor because Patrick Beverley, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, all three very, very solid defenders, right? And that's what everyone thinks. And, like you said, they're letting the Mavericks shoot. And, Kristaps, like you said, Porzingis, Kleber, not going to beat you inside. They're not the, Kristaps is tall, but he's not too big inside.
No,
and Kristaps.
He doesn't do anything inside. He is the stereotype from Dude Perfect of the white guy that sits out on the three and just shoots threes. You're like, post up? No, he can't post up. And on the other end, Nick Batum was the primary defender of Luka for half of that game. Why? Terrence Mann is a long athlete, good defender. You can use him, Kawhi, and Paul George. You can throw multiple guys at Luka. Pat Bev, he does his thing. You don't really want him on Luka, but worst case, it's fine. Batum is also a worst case guy, but you cannot give Nick Batum that matchup. It just doesn't work. You have Kawhi, you have Terrence Mann, who looks really good, and you have PG. Make those guys, and then make Luka drive past you. If he gets the switch on Zubac, he's just stepping back and hitting a three. Luka's beating them from jump shots. Make him drive to the rim and to help.
Well, one thing that I've kind of noticed, well, like you said, the Clippers have had a problem with switching, switching on screens and stuff, and letting Luka do whatever he wants. Well, when Pat Bev gets matched up on Luka, it seems that Luka actually takes advantage of that and uses his size. I think I've seen it throughout the series. It's smart by Luka, but like you said, if Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann is long. I feel like Kawhi, just very good defender throughout his career. Paul George, also a very lengthy guy. They can, upset Luka's game a little bit, if you get out and guard him. But, if if Luka gets the matchup on Pat Bev, he's going to use his size. Is he going to, if he does Batum's just not going to be able to guard him.
No, he just can't.
And so, yeah, you're very right, in my opinion. Luka Doncic is doing whatever he wants. 44 points last night shows that. But the Clippers got very lucky last night because even though they let the Mavericks shoot, Hardaway did not shoot well. Kristaps did not shoot well. So the game 4 of the series is going to be gigantic for the Clippers, obviously.
Absolutely.
But it's also an opportunity for the Mavs to, show the world, we're here. And possibly if the Mavericks get past the Clippers, then who's going to, there are obviously teams out there that can stop them, but they're going to be a very potential threat in the West. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I guess we can talk about the Suns and Lakers series so far. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Lakers are up 2-1, but Chris Paul gets injured very early in game 1. And I think it's impacted the Suns very, detrimentally, in my opinion. I don't think we're seeing the same Chris Paul right now. He's playing with that hurt shoulder. And the Lakers have taken advantage of that. But the Lakers have also played how, they played in the bubble last year. They've been playing very, very well, in my opinion. At least in games 2 and 3. So what do the Suns have to do to, tie the series tomorrow and, end up taking the series.
Yeah. The Suns, the thing with the Suns is like there's still like Chris Paul. First of all, I mean, if Chris Paul isn't healthy, it's gonna be very difficult for them to win. But the thing in game one was that Anthony Davis really didn't play well. I mean, you looked at the stats, and it was far and away Anthony Davis's worst game. He looked out of place on the floor. DeAndre Ayton really outplayed him. And in game one, he only had 13 points, 13 and 7 rebounds. In game 2 and 3, he had 34 points and then 10 rebounds in game 2, 11 rebounds in game 3. If you want to beat this team, it's really, you got to stop Anthony Davis because LeBron's LeBron. LeBron's going to get what LeBron wants to get. He isn't playing at 100%. At least it doesn't look like it. Either that or he's just a step slower. I really tend to think he's more injured, but they have to find a way to stop and contain Anthony Davis. That's the key to this team. If Anthony Davis isn't going to get going, Andre Drummond, you can play Drummond off the floor. He shouldn't be on the floor. Dennis Schroeder's he's good. He's going to get his too, but Kuzma has not been good this series. Marc Gasol just hasn't done anything. And then Wesley Matthews and Caruso are just filler players. You got to stop Anthony Davis. And on the other end, Devin Booker's just a bucket. Just get him the ball, get out of the way, and let him create. He didn't do well in game 3. He was 6 of 19 for 19 points, but he's Devin Booker. He's going to be better than that. You just got to let him be better than that. And
all right, continue. Sorry.
All right, yeah. The last thing I wanted to say is they have decent backup point guards. Campaign's been pretty good this series. I like Javon Carter a lot. He's a really aggressive guard. He'll make it really difficult just because he defends so well. It's like if Chris Paul isn't 100%, don't play him for 30 minutes that game. If he really isn't playing well and he's just not looking the same, play him 10 minutes. He'll get on the floor enough, but don't force it. All right, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I think this is kind of a new, at least this season, this is kind of new for the Suns to be down and to be kind of because in game 3, I thought they were dominated by the Lakers. And it showed. They were very frustrated. Devin Booker got ejected. And so did Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder got ejected too. But the Lakers were doing whatever they wanted to. And it's not new to see that LeBron did whatever he wanted to. But, it's the Suns in my opinion, the Suns have to stay composed. They have to play their game of basketball. Okay, yes, like you said, if Chris Paul is not 100%, use the backup point guards. But Chris Paul, when Chris Paul was hurt on the Rockets in that Warriors series, and he wasn't, able to play in game 7, I don't think it played pivotal. Well, it's not. It is, not very good that they missed 27 straight field goals that game. Which that was interesting.
That was an experience.
But it's, I mean, I know you say that, play the backup point guards, but the Suns need Chris Paul here. And, Chris Paul is going to need what he has to do to at least, play 25 minutes, maybe not 30, but, the Suns just need to stay composed, play their game, do what they can against LeBron and AD. But, they have enough talent, in my opinion, to beat LeBron and AD. Like you said, Devin Booker shot 6 of 19 game there. All right, so what? Devin Booker has to come back, play how Devin Booker plays. And the Suns will be fine, in my opinion. So that's what I think. Anything else on this?
Yeah, you were. I just want to say this. You were right a little to call me out saying Javon Carter should be playing over Chris Paul. That was definitely what I really meant to say was you need to manage his minutes better. If he actually is hurt, you have to manage his minutes better to make sure you can get the most out of him. And I like Javon Carter as a talent. I thought he was a good player at West Virginia. He is a really aggressive guard. He's going to give you what he's going to give you. He's going to give you energy that you might need instead of Chris Paul. So, yeah, you are right. Chris Paul is definitely a better player than Cam Payne and Javon Carter. It's just I think they need to manage his minutes more to get the most out of Chris Paul. That's what I tried to say.
Okay, good to know. All right, we're going to move on from the NBA playoffs, and we're going to talk some NFL. Now, this week on The Undisputed, Shannon Sharp called Julio Jones on his phone, and Julio Jones said that he wanted out of Atlanta. Or what? What are you laughing at?
It was so dumb. It was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious.
So Julio Jones said that he wanted out of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And very small thing, but he said he didn't want to go to the Cowboys. So Cowboys fans are probably not so happy right now. So let's just talk Julio. Where do you see him being best fit? Where either in a trade or if he decides to sign somewhere.
Yeah. So with the NFL, I think the first thing you have to hit on is that while the player empowerment era really has hit the NBA, it really hasn't hit the NFL. So it's definitely not a guarantee that he's going to be traded. If this was in the NBA and this was, I mean, when it was Kyrie was a thing, Kyrie ended up getting traded that offseason. I think, frankly, it happened to him twice. But with the NFL, it's definitely not a guarantee. Deshaun Watson, I mean, granted, he has his own situation going on. I don't want to get into that, but
He hasn't been, but it should. He hasn't been traded.
he hasn't been traded yet. Exactly.
So
That
he
being said,
obviously wants out of Houston, and
yep,
he hasn't been traded. So it's
yep.
very different from the NBA.
Player empowerment era just hasn't really hit the NFL yet. It's going to take a little while if it ever hits the NFL. They're going to try to stop it, though. That being said, I'd love Julio on the Chargers. Oh, man. St. Hubert in his second year. Herbert looks awesome. And then you add Keenan Allen's a beast. I mean, he's getting open for 10 yards every time he wants. Austin Eckler out of the backfield's a really good receiving back. And you add Julio there instead of Mike Williams. Mike Williams has some dumb drops or whatever. Julio wouldn't have any of those. And then you can add Mike Williams as a great third wide receiver. Oh, man. That offense would be awesome. I mean, it would be so fun to watch. St. Hubert is so good. I mean, he looks so good in that first year. Keenan Allen is awesome. You had Julio as another complimentary piece. Oh, man. That's a team I'm already going to be in on next season, but my God, if they could get Julio, fire up all of those guys in fantasy. Oh, man, that offense would be awesome.
That would be very interesting. Now, I didn't – that kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, Chargers, whoa. But that would make the AFC West a very – fun division to watch. It'd be very top heavy with the Chiefs and, if the Chargers got Julio with Chiefs Chargers, but that'd be two great games in the regular season. That's what the people want to see. But yeah, and like you said, Justin Herbert, if Joe Burrow had stayed healthy, people are saying that Joe Burrow would have won,
just the narrative thing, probably
Rookie of the Year. But I thought Justin Herbert played exceptionally well, and I think he deserved the Rookie of the Year over Justin Jefferson, even though Justin Jefferson also had an amazing year. But, let's joke around a little bit here. And the Chargers special teams, let's talk about the Chargers special teams. Because the Chargers special teams probably lost them a couple games. They have lost them multiple games throughout the past seasons over there. So maybe if they get Julio, if the Chargers get Julio, they really won't hopefully have to worry about the special teams problems. But good point on the Chargers. Is there anywhere else, do you think he would stay in the NFC or does that matter here?
Yeah. So first I'm just going to hit on this real quick. You hope the Chargers special teams issues are gone with the new coach, but no promises there. But in the NFC, I mean, there's definitely a chance. I don't if you're Atlanta, you just take the best offer you can get. Julio's doesn't really want to be there, and you're a team that's you really got to rebuild. Matt Ryan, he's shown he's slightly declining. He's still good, but he's declining. Calvin Ridley's a good receiver option. Kyle Pitts is going to be so damn good, but their defense in Atlanta just stinks. I mean, it stinks. There's nothing else to say. So you just got to take the best offer you can get and just really move on. Take another year or so to be just a little worse. Draft that quarterback of your future. Get a good quarterback in the next couple of years, and then build that defense up. Just take the best offer you can get. So I think Atlanta would be stupid to be oh, we can't trade Julio in conference. Even in division, frankly. I think if you get a really good offer from a division team, you should take it. It's going to be a little bit before you're really at that level. So just take what you can get.
So this just popped into my head, but would it be possible to see Julio on the Packers?
You see,
because Aaron Rodgers, I think Aaron Rodgers wants to leave. But if the Packers somehow find a trade for Julio, I think Aaron Rodgers comes back like that, and they're favorites, in my opinion. With Devontae Adams, him, Tanyan, the Packers would have another great offense. So would it be possible for those Packers to possibly get Julio?
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly the logic the Packers front office is thinking. If they're thinking about trading for Julio, it's okay. If we can get Julio, we might be able to keep Aaron Rodgers. If they know they cannot keep Aaron Rodgers if Julio ends up going there, you just don't even try. You just all right, Jordan Love, you got Devontae Adams, work with it, or whoever they end up starting. But it's something they definitely should look into and think about that. I mean, that's another offense that would be awesome. Aaron Jones out of the backfield, Julio and Devontae Adams. That's 2 top 5 easy wide receivers, maybe even
Probably
top
the best
3.
wide receiver duo. That would be the best wide receiver duo in the league by far, in my opinion.
Easily, far and away, not even close. Yeah, I mean, they should definitely look at it. I don't know what the Packers really have to give up, but I mean, if they can throw together a really good offer, go for it. I just think the only thing they shouldn't do is trade Jair Alexander just because he's so damn good. But I mean, obviously. But other than that, I mean, yeah, go for it. You know what? If you know you can get Rodgers back by getting Julio, get Julio.
Well, definitely once the NFL season comes running up, we're gonna have some very interesting conversations. We'll probably do some previews, but NFL season's kind of far away. But this Julio news popped up, so we had an opportunity to talk about it. But we're gonna move on. So announced this week in high school basketball. I know all of you are probably surprised we're going to talk high school basketball, but this week it was announced that the National Interscholastic Basketball Conference is going to have 8 teams of the top high school basketball programs in the country. So right now that are participating is Oak Hill Academy, Montverde Academy, IMG Academy, La Lumiere School, Sunrise Christian Academy, and Wasatch Academy, and with 2 teams that have yet to be announced. So the 8 teams will play a 10-game regular season, and they'll play in NIBC events and hold postseason tournament. So, you, Mr. Michael, are one of the biggest college basketball fans out there, and this is an opportunity for the public to see the young talent that have the potential to maybe do well in the NBA, but also help out some college teams, and now also go straight to the G League, which is a whole nother conversation. But just tell me, how excited are you for this?
Yeah, so it's a really cool concept. I'm going to call it the high school basketball Super League just because I feel like they heard about the Super League and were like, we got to do that. That's our thing. You got some very good programs in there. Montverde is a very historic program. Like, I remember watching, this isn't too far back, but I remember watching them when Ben Simmons was on the team. That was awesome. La Lumiere is a really growing program. Shout out to Jaren Jackson Jr. was a beast there, and Panteli Zidas, the DePaul bench warmer, awesome. It was very fun watching him there. You have IMG, which is really getting better at hoops. Like Trayvon Duval was down there. That's where Jonathan Isaac went. Anthony Simons, who went straight to the league, was there. And then you have some schools that are like growing. Like Sunrise Christian has 2 5-stars headed to school next year. Kennedy Chandler is going to Tennessee, and Kendall Brown's going to Baylor. And then you have a 2022 4-star, 4 or 5. He's like borderline. And Kansas commit Grady Dick. So it's a really growing program. He'll be there for the Super League next season, though they don't really have a ton of history. And then you look at Wasatch in Utah. Same thing. Not a ton of history, growing program. Matt Bradley, who just transferred to San Diego State, like a 20-point per game scorer at Cal. It's a really good prospect. And then Nolan Hickman, who just committed to Gonzaga. So, yeah, Wasatch is a growing program, and then Oak Hill's a powerhouse. Everyone knows that. Cam Thomas more recently, it was awesome, but KD, Carmelo Anthony, I wrote LeBron in my notes, good on me. But, yeah, Carmelo Anthony, KD, that is just
don't forget Cole Anthony, who's the most recent.
Yeah, there you go, even better. But the thing is with this league is it really feels like a professional league. Like, it's a random assortment of teams. You got some powerhouses like Montverde, some development programs, and then random locations. Like Montverde's in Florida, as is IMG. You have LaLu in Indiana. You have Sunrise Christian in Kansas. You have Wasatch in Utah. You have Oak Hill in Virginia. And then 2 random schools announced. My guess would be they look at either Cal or Nevada, just because they have really good programs down there.
I think, in all honesty, I think they'd pick Sierra Canyon just because of LeBron James' son.
I think they look at that. You also have to look at Mater Dei, just because, great program over there. And then some decent schools in Virginia. We're blessed to have the WCAC where we are, because it was the best high school sports league, high school basketball league in the country. I don't know if this overtakes it, but the talent we have with DeMatha, Gonzaga, and so on is awesome.
Well, in the most recent years, they kind of do a high school championship in New York. They broadcast on ESPN, and we've seen some of the best games, a lot of very good games there. When IMG Academy upset Montverde, that was one of the best games, one of the best high school games, at least I've ever watched. And that was with Cade Cunningham, who was possibly the number one pick in this draft. So yes, this league definitely has positives to it. You're going to see some great competition, and the thing is this may put a lot of pressure on these kids who have to juggle school, and they have to make their college decision. But I think in some cases it could put a little too much pressure, for how young they are. They're in these games, they're expected to, like these 5-stars, they're going to be expected to drop 25 plus, and just play exceptionally well. And if they don't play well, then people are just going to judge them, and the media is going to, the media just may, take it a bad way, and these kids are going to get impacted. So that's a negative to this situation, but it's just, I think it's a reality that a lot of people, need to understand, in my opinion. So do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They're going to feel a ton of pressure. Like, I mean, look, if you're going to Montverde or you're going to Oak Hill, you're feeling that pressure no matter what.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, these kids Lalu's probably about the same IMG there, but Sunrise Christian, you weren't feeling a ton of pressure just because you're in Kansas, and at Wasatch, you weren't feeling anything because, they're a program that just recently got good. Like Matt Bradley was the best player they produced before. Nolan Hickman got there, 4 5-star. And then they have a current, highly touted top 25 prospect in Richard Isaacs Jr., who's for class 2022. But so there's some schools in here that really weren't there yet. So those kids are going to feel a ton of pressure. And the travel, too. These are high school kids. You're going to what? Utah one day from Florida, then you're coming back to go to Virginia, then you're going to Indiana. That's a ton of travel. That's a lot. It's going to be really weird for them to have a decent high school life, especially if you're a sophomore on these teams. Some of these teams have some really young kids who while they're really good, these kids are young. Yeah. So it's weird. And with you mentioned about the media, the TV rights are going to be weird for this league. I assume they're going to get ESPN and stuff like that and get some games up there, but when is they're going to have this season? When are they going to be able to fit those games on TV? And how are they going to generate that media coverage? Because while you do want media coverage to promote the brand, promote these athletes, but you don't want them to degrade high school kids, which it's the internet. The internet's been doing that for years. Mm-hmm. So you need to find that balance. It's a weird idea. I like it though. It should be some good basketball. I like watching hoops, obviously. So I'm probably going to tune in if it's on ESPN or whatever, but there are definitely some negatives here. I hope it's handled well, and I hope everything looks good here.
And if these games aren't televised, it's not the worst thing. You can definitely, find them on YouTube, because I think Slam basketball, their YouTube channel is one of the best YouTube channels. You can any high school game on there, or Ball's Life, of course, too. There's just multiple ways these days to watch high school highlights. So it'd be it's really cool, and hopefully it'll be a good opportunity for these kids, for maybe some of these kids that aren't as recruited as well, to get their opportunity to shine on the big stage. That's also a very big possibility. But just thought we would talk about that. All right, Michael, you got anything to wrap this podcast up, this episode up?
2 things I wanted to mention. First of all, shout out to Gio Urshela for getting walked on 3 balls. Way to get the umps on your side, even though the Yankees did lose that game. Way to get the umps on your side. And on a more serious note, shout out to Chris Weidman. He was the UFC fighter who had that terrible injury we saw a couple months back, or a couple weeks back. I didn't feel like more than a month. He did start walking on his own today, which is remarkable. It was a really bad knee injury. If you haven't seen it, don't. But shout out to him. He's walking on his own for the first time today. It's impressive. Love to see him back out there.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode 2, and we should be back next week. Thank you.
Peace.